Hi folks, this is all the fruit. Today I'm leaving Bogor, the cool city of rain in Java, for the even much colder and much rainier town of Cibodas in the nearby mountains. Bogor has the oldest botanic garden in all of Indonesia, but Chiapas is the new mountain dependence with hundreds, probably thousands of new, mostly jungle mountain fruit tree species planted there in the last years. It's not that it's a totally new botanic garden, there are giant ancient trees there. Just going and seeing those giant ancient trees would be enough reason, but they also have all the beautiful new young giant fruit tree collections. The only thing that's bothering me, the last 2 days here in Bogor have been incredibly rainy, even for Bogor standards, heavy flooding and stuff. Going into the mountains during such a monsoon event, and the funny thing is everything around there, Chiapas, Cibodas, Chiawi, Chileungsi, I was just thought, oh yeah, that means water. Those areas get so much water that basically every town and village there has water in its name. Oh, that's gonna be fun. At least down here the rain, at least down here the rain is kind of warm and tropical, but up there I wouldn't say it's freezing, but it's freaking cold. By the way, as you can see, Bogor is an extremely green and beautiful city. Of course, the Botanic Garden is the main attraction, but just find a particularly green neighborhood or 2 or 3 and take a walk there. You'll find so many interesting fruit trees, ornamentals, ancient trees. You can find giant kapok trees here. Oh, by the way, there are 2 of them over there. You can find giant ancient mangoes, rare fruits just growing out of some garden or even in a public spot. Oh, this guy? Okay, we are here back at the Botanic Garden, and here you have a couple particularly beautiful kapok trees, but he's cruising around a little bit, I think. Even the highways around Bogor are meticulously maintained parks. Fortunately, not too many fruit trees along the highways, but I guess people don't want all the fruits, all the slimy fruits on the ground. Here, by the way, one of the volcanoes. I still haven't gotten up, I still haven't climbed a single volcano here in Western Java, only in the east. They have a wonderful flora, but this rainy season, going up to over 1,000 meters to Cibodas Botanic Garden is challenging enough, and staying there for hours and filming. But going up to like the 2,000 meter volcanoes, well, you need the guide and the permit and other things, but maybe you shouldn't do it during the rainiest days. Look at this beautiful mahogany or skyfruit road. Those are not really big mahogany trees, but there are a lot of them here. Mahogany or skyfruit is a very popular roadside tree around here. Also a popular timber tree for plantations because it is an expensive timber. I'm sure even non-plant enthusiasts have heard the name mahogany, or in other countries they call it mahagony. The Americans always have to twist every name. I don't know why, man. Yeah. In America, it's being attacked by different pests and diseases which are absent here in Asia, and so it's planted everywhere because beautiful ornamental, low care, high quality timber, no pests, and it's called sky fruit because supposedly you can make good cancer cures out of the fruits. I mentioned the magnificent volcanoes around here. Well, usually you don't see them due to the buildings and clouds. You might notice that Java is the most crowded, most populous island in the world. The population is higher than all the population of the British Isles, all the population of all Japanese islands together. There are like, what, I think almost 150 people living on this island. Basically, you don't have separate cities, but wherever you have a more important road, the cities just go along the road forever and forever and forever and merge into giant strip cities. Forever and forever and forever and no end in sight. Also, no end of the huge strip city inside. Arriving at Chiawi market, yeah, already the water names are starting. And this this amaranthus here is being used as a vegetable, but not commonly. Also, this ornamental myrtaceae, I always forget the name, has very tasty edible fruits. Since we are already at the market, let's check it out. The first thing I notice is mangoes. I saw mangoes in Bogor only once during the last week. In November there was mango season in Bogor, now no, and here the first thing I see are mangoes. We are just, 10-20 kilometers away from Bogor, but already the crops are changing. However, the inside of the market looks more meaty. Also melons. Funny thing is, those melons seem to be quite expensive, despite the fact that the melon is basically just water and much easier to cultivate than many of the other fruits. Also, those are technically melons, but they are being used as cucumbers. Here we have the ice apple. Shall I buy some ice apples? What other differences with Bogor? Well, there are some rambutan here. They were quite rare in Bogor. Apart from that, all the other fruits are more or less the same. Well, but there must be a big vegetable section somewhere. Okay, let's enter. How bad can it be? Yeah, pretty bad, but this area is at least very populated and very bright, and full of cats. So at least here there won't be a lot of rats. They like to scurry around the shady corners. Okay. Lots of citruses here, Mr. Camping. They already know what I'm up to. Never been to this place before, and they immediately figured me out. Oh well, out is the operative word. This market is actually not too bad for a mixed underground market. I've seen others where you enter them and giant masses of giant rats just scurry around in all directions. This one is, so Chiawi market, recommended by all the fruit. If you have to go in an underground fruit, veg, meat and dry goods mixed market, do it in Chiawi, because there are worse markets around. However, this is supposed to be quite a big town/city and a huge and important junction, so somewhere there should be some type of less formal and more fruity market. Just need to find it. Big kapok bananas, tropical cherries, and there are several tricks to brave the Indonesian traffic. One is patience, and the other one is impertinence. This here we have a shop, fruit shop. Well, some of the stuff got prices, bit on the pricey side, but okay. Fruit stalls here are a lot fancier than in Bogor. But apart from the initial mangoes, no other amazing discoveries. Also, here we have another quite interesting shape of melons. Those are even bumpier than the ones in Bogor, looking almost like pumpkins. Oh, and more mangoes, unripe ones, but still mangoes. The area reminds me of the northern slopes of the Canary Island volcanoes, because the southern slopes of the Canary Island volcanoes are usually quite dry. But here we have similar volcanic mountains, a similar moist climate, even a similar agriculture and a similar fast development and mostly disregard for style. Yeah, everything looks a lot like parts of the Canary Islands. Of course, here the climate, even in the mountains, is even more tropical. And also we still haven't reached the high areas. We should still be under 500 meters. At our highest, this highway will pass at almost 1500 meters above sea level. Completely different climate and also quite a different vegetation up there. Rambutan fruiting in the distance. From time to time I see fruiting trees nearby, but I'm not fast enough turning on the video. Yeah, I've seen rambutans, water apples and even a dragon fruit fruiting here. I hope that up in Cibodas I will hit the fruit season. Just saw a giant stall full of hundreds of durians. Oh yeah, and of course, since we're here next to a giant metropolitan area and we are in the mountains, people like to come up here for fun. So this is basically a tourist area, not for foreigners but for local tourists. That's why there are so many fancy looking buildings. And also some which we wouldn't consider that fancy. But those durians, those were hundreds of huge beautiful durians. Where I go it should be too cold for durians and mangosteen, maybe even for rambutan. Let's see if I'm right. Cypresses and araucaria seem to be quite popular here, probably because of the, well, boreal look of those conifers. Also a lot of exotic bamboos, yuccas, everything that looks temperate and less tropical is being planted here. And among them, of course, also the local trees. I just saw a nutmeg tree, don't know if you can even recognize it. Whenever I try to film, there are just buildings in between. Oh, there is a cat sitting next to me. Yes, a real cat, not somebody imitating cat sounds. A lot of beautiful gardens and fruit parks. A lot of them made specifically for the local tourists. I'm sure there are a lot of interesting things to discover there, but still, if you cover the main botanic gardens, you should be able to cover almost 100% of the fruit diversity in such an area. The first tea plantations, but of course I was too slow. Yeah, it totally reminds me of the Canary Islands, minus the hijabs and the mosques, of course. And here again a small tea plantation. I guess it's just the start of a huge tea plantation. See all those fruit and food stalls here? They are all empty. Normally this would be a very bad sign, and still it's not a really good sign, but we are in Ramadan, so Muslims are not supposed to eat or drink during the day. And that might be the reason here. A lot of stalls on the other side, also all of them empty. I hope it doesn't mean what it usually means, namely that the area is not in the fruit season. Now we are starting to climb the pass between Chiawi and Cibodas, well, and some other water and tea-rich areas. As you can see, tea, a lot of pines. Don't even know if they are planted mainly for timber or mainly just as ornamentals here to create a more temperate ambient. Again, a lot of empty stalls, and the ones which are covered with the big canvas are the ones which are operating. but they are covered with a big canvas so as not to offend the Muslims or as not to entice the Muslims who want to fast. And yeah, up here it's even more rainy and foggy, as you can see. I hope towards Cibodas it's gonna be, well, not sunny, but at least maybe dryish. Reaching the highest part of the pass, visibility about 50 meters. Well, the only interesting plants for me I can see here are the wild bananas. However, most of them are too small to recognize anything. I wonder what those trees are which are everywhere in the coffee, in the tea plantations. Well, there should also be coffee plantations somewhere here. The climate should be okay for Arabica, but no, it's all tea. And those trees in the tea plantations, tell me if you know what their purpose is. Oh, big veggie market, but of course I didn't catch it. Still haven't reached the highest point, but it should be somewhere here. Visibility is negligible. Giant tree ferns. Okay, those are not so giant. We missed the giant ones. Wet, windy, and foggy. No conspicuous fruit trees. From now, it should be going down, and from now it's more interesting for me because the fruit season in this high valley is what I'm interested in. Look at those poor bananas. Their leaves have been shredded. There must have been some really strong winds up here. Not only are the banana leaves shredded, a lot of other leaves are lying on the ground in places, and even the leaves of much tougher plants have been shredded. It can be good or bad here, by the way. This library looks so much like the Canary Islands. They're even growing a lot of very similar crops. If this happened in the last 2 or 3 days, this could be good for me because there could be a lot of unripe and almost ripe and half-ripe fruits lying on the ground. And here the slopes of the Pangrango volcano. Quite a storm around here in the last days. Even the bamboo is devastated. That could mean potential food for me, but of course I first touch the brown itchy hairs. Do I want to get this potential food? Sorry, they're a little bit tough. Not worth getting completely destroyed by those hairs. I think this is Brazilian Szechuan pepper, but although the sewers here are a lot cleaner than in the city, still not eating from them. Well, those mangoes, avocados, and whatever this is in the background don't seem to be in season. Neither are those water apples. But here you can see, yeah, the storm might be good for me. Probably it was yesterday when there was the heavy rain in Bogor. So I guess if they are half-ripe or even unripe fruits in the Botanic garden. I knew that Monaco and Indonesia had the same flag, but I wasn't aware that Monaco is in Indonesia. Well, anyways, before I go to the Botanic garden, I need to eat and drop my backpack at the hotel. Ah, look at that. What have we got here? Solanum nigrum. No, this is not Solanum nigrum. I have to find a further developed plant with flowers or fruits. Solanum nigrum is edible. Thickberry, full with thousands of fruits, but not a single one is ripe. Peaks of the Pandrango in the background. Interesting, the storm is not devastating that pomelo tree. I can see 2 fruits on the ground. Maybe down here in the valley it wasn't that bad. And an araucaria and 1 little cone on the ground. All those red palm fruits. They look so tasty and they're so full of oxalates. But if so many of them have been beaten down, oh yeah, this looks like a hefty storm. Beautiful view on the Pandrango. Also, I am already in a gated community, and my hotel seems to be in the even more gated area. Fancy. Let's see. Let's see if my room will be just as fancy. It wasn't very expensive. Did I mention the storm? Looks nice, but no fruits to grab. Always investigate the local limes. However, those look like some quite biggish Persian limes. However, do Persian limes have spines? Or could this be some seedling plant? Please tell me. This seems to become another foraging / survival video. Not a single street food court or restaurant or something like this is open. And I don't want to eat the artificial bread they sell in shops here. Well, it could also be another storm survival video. Oh well. So, let's see. Those here have a bunch of nice bananas in their window. However, they have nobody at home. Those bananas would totally bring me through the day. The owner of the bananas was located and he wanted 30,000 per hand. He doesn't know how stubborn I am. I'll starve before I buy an overpriced banana. There are cows down there. And not some local breed, but some modern Western stuff. Maybe I should eat a cow? Maybe not, it's too big even for me. Has this dragon fruit dropped some loot? Nope, unfortunately not. The gates to heaven are supposed to be narrow so that fat people cannot enter. But this gate to the only open food stall? How do you even imagine this? Oh, it seems I'm in the kitchen. That means I have to get out again? Warum buka? Funny. I think those girls are too scared now. It must look like a bear trying to enter a rabbit hole. In the basement, hidden from prying eyes in the dark, the sinners gather to break their fast prematurely. The door is closed diligently after every conspirator, of course I mean eater. Yeah, around here people love tolerance, so they tolerate and they know that some people eat during Ramadan, and at the same time those people who eat make sure they don't disturb the people who fast by, for example, frying smelly pisang goreng or chicken wings on the street. So For them it's okay if you eat and drink during Ramadan. If you choose so, you just shouldn't bother them too much with smells and sights of food and drinks in the open streets. I didn't manage to catch it, but twice visitors who were unfamiliar with the door left it slightly ajar, or it opened after they closed it. At every time the staff is running and closing the door tightly behind them. Emerging from the underground. I totally love their tolerant view here. Like 99% are observing Ramadan, but as long as nobody flexes, they're eating and drinking in the... okay, that's interesting. That's what I would call flexing. But since he's already here, I'm buying. I thought they try to avoid things like that during Ramadan, but okay, no problem. Taking another motorbike for the last couple kilometers. Around here it really looks like Canary Islands villages, complete with the giant yuccas which look so much like dragon trees. Well, I mean, if you subtract the mosques and add some churches, it would look exactly like Canary Island villages. Similar architecture, similar agriculture, similar misty volcanoes in the background. If you would put me here for just like 1 minute without being able to read any of the signs, I would totally have an over 50% chance of telling you that we're in the Canaries. Kind of missing the Canaries, but cannot go there again. I already pretty much scraped the bottom with fruit foraging in the Canaries, over 800 videos. Cannot do many more over there. Also bananas. Well, bananas are a non-seasonal fruit, so you will find them in the proper climate throughout the year. There is a giant market around the entrance of the Botanic Gardens. Well, a lot of food stalls and of course fruit and veg vendors and a lot of plant vendors. I mean, if people come to a botanic garden and fall in love with some of the plants, they want to bring some home. So lots and lots of nurseries and plant vendors. It's basically a whole good-sized village here around the Botanic Garden entrance. Yeah, pretty much everything in Java is big, usually made up of hundreds of tiny things, but like here, giant market made up of many hundreds of little stalls and restaurants, and just here to serve the people who visit the Botanic Garden. The temperatures up here are acceptable, but not if you ride on a motorbike. 3-4 kilometers on a motorbike made me almost freeze, but as long as it doesn't rain, I should be okay for now. Let's plunge into the gigantic Botanic Garden, and the first thing I see looks like Castanopsis. And Castanopsis, as the name suggests, is a close relative of the edible chestnut. And look at that. It totally looks like a chestnut. Oy. However, when you see the seeds, you realize it's just a close relative, but not exactly a chestnut. Castanopsis argentea from Java. And look at that. Next to Castanopsis argentea, they have Castanopsis javanica. However, it doesn't seem to be in season, unlike the argentea tree. It's shedding small, unpollinated fruits. Those are the fruits that, the plant is discarding. Here you can see a couple more. And no, I don't think that javanica has so much smaller fruits, because even if they were small, they would open to release the seeds. Also, another thing here in the Botanic Garden, which I realized when I visited it in November a lot of mushrooms, and a lot of those mushrooms look very familiar. I even ate a type of portobello mushroom which I didn't find here in the garden but in the nearby jungle, and I survived it. Yeah, I survived eating unknown mushrooms in the tropical jungle, raw and uncooked. I know a thing or two about mushrooms. And here we have macadamia, the hardest, tastiest and most expensive of all the traded nuts in the world. And here we seem to have a big local squirrel population. But unlike in Bogor Botanic Gardens, where I never saw macadamia fruits on the trees, here they have quite a lot. I don't know if it's too hot for the macadamias to fruit properly in Bogor, or if I just missed the season, but here macadamia can be cultivated on the equator. It can also be cultivated in most parts of the Mediterranean, all the way up to southern France. Oh, something I forgot to mention is the people around here are not really used to white foreigners. Usually the white foreigners just come here by buses for the Botanic Garden. But when I was in the towns and villages around here, you notice they have a different attitude than the people in Bogor. You are still kind of a small sensation, especially when I entered this underground moonshine bar where people were eating during Ramadan. The looks were priceless. Yeah, I cannot film everything, but yeah, if I filmed only 10% of all my experiences with the peoples of Asia, I could start a new channel totally without fruits. Here this macadamia still with young fruits and beautiful flowers. I've already made a number of macadamia species videos, so I'm not gonna dwell too much on them. Laurus nobilis, the bay leaf, this comes from the Mediterranean, and it's quite amazing. It can grow here in the equatorial, well, not lowlands, in the equatorial highlands. Obsidium guineense, I want to try this. I don't think I've ever tried this guava species. It's covered with, well, the upper branches are covered with fruits. Did we get some naughty school children here who collected everything from the lower branches? Yeah, look, many hundreds of fruits on the upper branches, but a lot less on the lower branches, but nothing is ripe. The grass is being meticulously trimmed. That's quite good for me, because I don't want to get all the high mountain snakes and spiders and scorpions around here to bite me. Also, like most Indonesian botanic gardens, this one is gigantic. Those people are not fooling around. The main purpose of their botanic gardens is to gather the plant diversity of the entire country. Smoke from a wooden fire, and it smells like a conifer fire. I miss that. I don't miss winter, but a couple things about winter I do miss. Yeah, what did I want to say? Yeah, the first place where they started doing this over 200 years ago is Bogor Botanic Garden, and Cibodas here is a dependance of Bogor, bigger than the original Bogor Botanic Garden. This is this, what did you call, honey bolitos or something? In Bulgaria we called it borovka. You have to peel this one in order to eat it, and it's incredibly slimy. I'm sure I could totally eat this one, but let's not be too foolish around here, because For example, in the Chinese immigrant community of the US, they're always talking about this deadly mushroom which claims so many Chinese lives. Chinese come from China, forage for mushrooms that look familiar to them in America, and die from a specific mushroom. I'm glad that when I was 7 that my family came from Bulgaria to Germany. Germany is similar enough in its nature to Bulgaria that we could use pretty much all our foraging experience. Had we gone, let's say, to America, we might have all died because we are eating mushrooms like crazy. Down there, you can see wild bananas. Some have been beaten down by the storm, but they still have a couple fruit bunches. Also, look at this massive rotan. This might be one of the most massive rotan species I've ever seen. Also, look how many jaboticaba bushes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. At least 10. Come on, 10 plants. Is there at least one single fruit here for me? I think even 11 plants. Whenever I find this in Southeast Asia, it's never in season. They are just a couple fruits and usually the birds beat me to them. What a pity. Of course, if you have a mountain botanic garden, you plant a lot of conifers. Not only the Indonesians do it. If you go to areas of Italy or Spain or the Canary Islands in Spain, which are like mountainous but which originally were taken up by some evergreen forests or even summer green forests, if they want to create an area for people to go and hang out in the mountains, they would usually plant it with conifers so that it looks like it's a high mountain area. That's being done a lot, even introducing high mountain conifers to those areas, but mostly planting conifers which are okay in those areas. And here you can see giant collections of conifers. The conifer biodiversity is of course highest here in the tropics. Yeah, it's a little bit counterintuitive because the biggest conifer forests are in cold areas, but the biodiversity is the highest. But I don't even think that all those are collections of different species. I think a lot of those conifers are landscaping to attract more people to this high mountain botanic garden. What do we have here? No, sorry, no dollar, mister. What do we have here? Oh, Mangifera odorata. Wait, this is not a queenie. Mangifera odorata is the queenie. This looks like everything but a queenie. Maybe very interesting. Well, a couple of the more ripe things look. No, it doesn't smell like a queenie. No, boys, no money from me. Sorry. Oh no, now they are following me. Well, let's make a video about this, but first let's find at least one more or less ripe fruit. Also, why are pretty much most of them, why have most of them exploded? Oh, my kids left me alone. Thank God. Somebody had collected a lot of the fruits, but why are they all? Is this from the wheat whacker or from something else? Also, a lot of those fruits with white flesh, a lot of those fruits with white flesh are kind of softish, which would suggest that this thing is ripening. There is not a trace of machine oil smell. Unfortunately, the ripish ones have been already savored by some animals. So interesting. And here somebody, this is an interesting discovery. Here somebody collected stuff for the sambal. This is not a queenie, folks. While I was filming the species video, I discovered the poles. That's why the Castanopsis has fruits on top but nothing on the lower branches. That's why the mango has fruits on top but nothing on the lower branches. Those kids who wanted money, dollar. I guess when they cannot get dollar, they get some fruit from the trees, but they didn't even bother to collect the mangoes. Also, no, I didn't give those kids any money. I mean, around here the people are very poor compared to us Westerners. But those kids, most probably they go to school, they go to a proper school. They have, okay, another, I think that is of course very bad is this collection of litter in the collections, not just on the road, but they also collect the dead leaves from the tree collections, which of course weakens the soil, which of course deprives the soil of nutrients, and also, yeah, makes the trees are able to grow, but they are not able to fruit properly. So no, I didn't. Those kids, they go to school. They are not like the slave kids I filmed in Kota Kinabalu. They go to school. They have loving parents. They have enough to eat, I would say. They are probably poor. They don't have the newest smartphone, but learning to beg whenever they see every white man, whenever they see a white person, is not a good thing, and yeah, not gonna be good for their development. It's not that I am giving a lot to beggars around here, usually cripples or old people who cannot work, but those kids, if they learn to beg from such a young age, I really fear for them. Okay, enough of the kids. Look at the traces of the storm. This big canarina-like herbs have been thrown over. A lot of bananas have been toppled over. You saw near the mango a lot of branches have come down. That means that maybe also a lot of fruits have come down. Now we just need to find them. What are those big fruits up there? See, this looks untidy for some people, so they will collect all the litter and throw it in some more natural part. Also what I love, of course, are the clean mountain rivers. In the Botanic Garden of Bogor, there are a couple rivers going through the Botanic Garden, but they are halfway rivers, halfway sewers. Those here probably not clean enough to drink from them, but very clean. Also, this is a magnolia, so unfortunately those big fruits are not edible. Here, behind this building, we'll be passing through a jungle area. It's possible that it's quite a natural jungle area. I walked into it last time I was here. I walked a bit to the right. I walked a bit to the right on this little road, and it was quite a nice jungle. Here, by the way, one of the local rubus or raspberry species. And here they call it correctly raspberry even when they sell it to tourists. But you can maybe see why a lot of people confuse raspberry with strawberry here. Apart from the fact that most people in Southeast Asia are not so familiar with raspberries and strawberries. This raspberry looks more like a strawberry than an actual raspberry. This jungle area also reminds me of the Lauri Silva of the Canary Islands. I mean, well, it is basically, this is a highland, more or less subtropical jungle, just like this Lauri Silva in the Canary Islands. And actually really strange relations between those jungles. There are avocado species around here. Then there are avocado species on the Canary Islands, and then there are avocado species in Mexico, in those type of evergreen forests. Mostly evergreen subtropical forests. So even after millions of years of separation, there are a lot of quite closely related plants, and of course that's one reason why the vegetation also looks very similar. This road could totally be in the Anaga Mountains of Tenerife, with the red volcanic rock cliffs into which this is clay, but they also have this in the Anaga Mountains, with those red clay and rocks into which the road has been cut, the big ferns hanging down, the lauriferous trees everywhere. I'm getting so many Canary Islands flashbacks here in those highlands, but yeah, those are tropical highlands. They are similar to the subtropical highlands, and I guess another Castanopsis argentea. I'm hungry, and this is the area where I got the mushrooms last time. Folks, never eat unknown mushrooms. Sooner or later they will kill you, especially when you come to such a jungle area you know nothing about. Don't just stuff big unknown mushrooms down your throat. Where are the big mushrooms? I'm hungry. Never do this, folks. Which shows that this place can kill you even if you avoid the mushrooms. The more disturbed areas are full of some indicators of disturbance. All those bananas which are probably native, and all those solanaceae of different species which are probably not native. Back there I see a 6-7 meter high solanaceae tree with purple flowers. Not the big purple flowers here, but smaller purple flowers in the background and small fruits. But I don't want to go into this dense vegetation and cross this mountain river. Guess I'm gonna stick to the areas where the trees have labels. Stand of beautiful giant eucalyptus trees that totally dwarf the road. Again, Canary Islands flashbacks. Is it called flashbacks? My English is getting worse and worse. You know, in high school I had a really good Oxford English and could read and write and speak in the most complicated way because we had to read so many political texts. But in the last 30 years, my English has been on a constant decline. Oh, you can correct me if what I speak, if what I say is not correct. I mean, otherwise, no, never gonna learn it. So, if you see me butcher the English language in an unacceptable way, tell me. Apart from the stuff, the garden is almost empty. Funny, it's Friday. Weekend should have started. Maybe because it's Ramadan, maybe because it's very rainy. I don't object. It's good when people enjoy their botanic gardens. But if they don't, more stuff for me. Also, as you can see, even in Indonesia, which we might consider to have more lax security standards, even here a lot of the areas are closed off, probably because of hanging branches after the storm. Okay, where are all the fruits the storm beat down? Not only branches, entire small trees and shrubs have been toppled over. Must have been some crazy gusts. I mean, I was here in Araucaria Cone. I was in Bogor Botanic Garden during one of those rainstorms, but those were mostly rain, not so much storm. Here, there must have been either very strong wind or extremely strong rain, maybe even hail. Here, a giant tree fern has been toppled over. Ferns, oh look, somebody has chopped with their parang to the beautiful wood. If this does not remind you of any type of wood, broadleaf trees, conifers, palms, they all have very different wood. It's because wood was invented many times in the history of the plants, but those ferns are among the first plants that invented true wood. And actually the wood is sometimes of quite decent quality. Oh, look at that over there, another fern. I know this is a fruit channel, but since those are long foraging videos, I can also show you some other very interesting plant facts. Here, did this break in half or did they saw it in half? Yes, this broke in half. So here you can see the outer harder layer of the fern wood and the inner softer layer. This does not increase in thickness after it has been created, but very beautiful fern timber. But yeah, enough talking. Our job is to find not just the low-hanging fruits, but also the ones that have fallen to the ground. Oh. Interesting Zolaneaceae collection. And this should be some ilex. We are mostly used to ilex being a temperate holly, being a temperate plant, very typical for parts of Europe. But nope, there are also a lot of tropical holly species. I love those villas. You can rent them, and they are, oh no, they're a bunch of really beautiful big giant aloe trees, and I thought they are less than I saw just a couple months ago, but look at that. Oh no. Well, here the storm has really struck hard. One giant aloe tree, two giant aloe trees have gone, two giant aloe trees are gone. Were there five? Maybe there were six, so I guess over there a third giant aloe tree. What a pity. Those are really beautiful old specimens. And back there, this huge tree. A lot of other things are also gone. But for now, let's cry about the aloes. Those are close relatives to the aloe vera you use for medicine. Let's observe them closely. Well, not too many great roots down there. What a pity. What a pity. Look at that aloe. This is basically a lily. And this lily has a stem which is what? 1 meter 30 in diameter at the base or so? Oh, such a pity, man. And this happened just days ago. The wood is quite fibrous and spongy. You will not see this a lot in construction or carving. But yeah, this is not a real tree. This is basically a giant lily. So sad, man. Look at how impressive they look. And I think the three which are left, or the four which are left, are the smaller ones. Speaking of big trees, this bush here is the biggest jaboticaba I've ever seen. I don't know, well, those two actually, there is a second one. I don't know if jaboticaba can grow a lot bigger than that. That's as big as I've seen them. And as I said, whenever I come to Southeast Asia, actually, the first time I saw jaboticaba was in Florida, and it was covered with fruits like in those famous pictures. Second time I saw jaboticaba, it was the Palm Garden in Frankfurt, and it still had quite a number of good big fruits. After that, whenever I've seen jaboticaba, I guess they were not in season because they either had no fruits or just a few fruits. And this one right now doesn't have a single one, it seems. That's still impressive big tree. Here you can see a lot of temperate herbs being cultivated. I think, yeah, herbs. Taraxacum campylioides. This is the standard dandelion. Here we have yarrow, Achillea millefolium, also from Europe. Viola odorata, violets. Probably you cannot grow them in the lowlands, but up here it's totally feasible. One green jaboticaba fruit. At least it starts flowering. I can see dozens, maybe even hundreds of tiny flowers. Okay, it's coming into season. Why are the cacti in a greenhouse? Is it so cold here? Nope, it's not about the cold. But you have to protect them from excessive rain. And the rain here is truly excessive. From time to time I find old friends here. Look, among this tropical grass and the Zelaginella, there is a little plantain. Those are edible. Also here, what was the name of this? The Germans call it French wheat because they say the French spread it in Germany to starve them. The Germans had known that it's actually edible. Also here, some brassicaceae, some mustard, which is also edible. Coix lacrima iobi, one of the most ancient and enigmatic grains in the world. Around here in Indonesia, they still grow it here and there. Big seed. What are you? Where are you from? No, folks, I'm not giving you the seed. It's property of the government of Indonesia. Is it? Is it coming from this fruit? If it's coming from this fruit, it's a fabaceae. And definitely, well, oh, Castanospermum. Oh, it's Castanospermum australe. The Chinese chestnut. Are those really Castanospermum australe fruits? Castanospermum australe seeds? Yeah, that seems to be it. Turns out useful tropical plants say those things get up to 1.20 meter thick, but this thing is about 2 meters thick. So, folks, if you could go online and check how thick does Castanospermum actually get. Is 120 really the norm? Is this an exceptionally thick and majestic tree, or do they commonly get up to 2 meters? Please write in the comments. Well, another one bites the grass. I hope I will not be demonetized for this reference, and not just another one. Here is a pandanus, which was already also toppled over. Almost interesting enough to leave it like this, but unfortunately it's blocking the entire crossroads here. Pity. Yeah. Here quite a smallish and still completely unripe pandanus fruit. They are full of oxalates anyway. You don't say. Hati hati pohon rawan tumbang. Beware of falling branches. Well, you don't say, mate. You don't say. Beware of falling branches. Beware of falling trees. True. Beautiful old trees in the background, and again the lower slopes of the Pandrango. Oh, look at that. Jackfruit tree has also got it. Hanging full of huge fruits. Those are the biggest tree-borne fruits in the world. But got hit by this falling tree here. And I'm sure a couple fruits fell to the ground, but even unripe jackfruits are incredibly valuable. I mean, those are several kilograms of fibrous material which can be made into a curry. Not that they have a lot of taste, but this is a stupid lumberjack beginner's mistake I made here. Shouldn't have made it after, 35 years of lumberjacking already. You cut a tree into shorter and shorter sections, and they are rolling more and more easily. Oh, this guy's foraging something. Let's ask him what he's looking for. Hey boss, is this an edible plant? Boleh makan ini?
Peace.
Hah? Peace? Tidak mengerti.
Buat makan ikan.
Ah, the fish can eat this. You have fish at home. Ada ikan di rumah tua?
Iya, di rumah.
Ah, ini makanan ikan.
Ya, makanan ikan.
Ah, terima kasih. So this guy is feeding the green algae to his fish at home. Well, at the same time cleaning the waterways. They sure need some cleaning after the storm. So this guy is foraging fish food here. Not unlike the people who are foraging chestnuts and mangoes in the Botanic garden. But well, it started quite promising with chestnuts and mangoes. I can now tell that this Botanic garden is not in the fruit season either. Or all the leaves and twigs are being removed every week so that basically can not accumulate enough nutrients in the ground for a good fruiting season. Oh, look at that. A rubus collection. And not one of those boring German rubus collections where they have a lot of same looking rubuses. Those are really distinct species. That's super interesting. I'll make a video about that. And here another Castanopsis again. Not Castanospermum, but Castanopsis. Let's see which species. No label. And this here seems to be the super expensive wood where you get some resin. You make holes into the wood and then some resin forms. And this resin infuses the wood and makes it into an incredibly expensive wood. People travel many days to steal pieces of such a small tree because they are incredibly valuable. Such a tree can be worth more than a year's salary. I think that's why the fence is here. Beautiful rubus collection. Those might have been like 10 different species. Pity they are not more into the sun, but here in the half shade, or they would have produced a lot more fruits. Here we have some other very important plants for the local cuisine, for the regional cuisine of Southeast Asia. So many different gingers. There are thousands of gingers and ginger relatives in Southeast Asia, and at least hundreds of them are being used by the people for food, as spices and vegetables and medicine and so on. Look at that. Some of them even have edible fruits, edible tasty fruits that can be eaten out of hand. Beautiful giant ginger collection. Let's plunge again into the tree collection. So look at that. Something else. It looks very chestnut-like. What is it? And where exactly does it come from? Confusing. Must be those big labelless trees. If you know what this is, please tell me. It comes from a big tree. It looks more or less like this. I think I already mentioned that. Well, first the Dutch and later the Indonesian government, they are trying to preserve all the local biodiversity in this and a couple other important botanical gardens. This is quite a huge task because Indonesia and Brazil are the two most biodiverse countries in the world and the two most fruit diverse countries in the world. And here, when they are talking about biodiversity, they totally put a big stress on fruit trees and their relatives. Oh, that fooled me for a moment. See this? It's a palm inflorescence, but it totally looked like a porcupine moving to the right. Watch this again and tell me if it looks like a porcupine. A collection of small palms. I don't think this is the main collection. And they even have the European dwarf palm, Chamerops humilis. This is the northernmost palm species in the world. Maybe not the most frost hardy, but it occurs at the same geographical latitude as southern Canada. There are areas in northern Italy and southern France with native populations at the same geographical latitude as southern Canada. Phoenix canariensis? Nope. Nope. This is wrong. I mean, I'm sad the tree is dead, but this is not Phoenix canariensis. Look at how thin it is. Look at those leaves. A phoenix, yes, because The lower leaflets are made into spines. This is the definition of phoenix or date palms. Other palms which have spines on the lower petiole, it's not that the leaflets down there slowly, like the lower ones are formed more like spines. They don't turn into spines. The upper ones from the beginning are formed like leaflets, and the lower leaflets are formed like spines. That's the definition of phoenix. So they got the genus right, but not the species. However, the good thing for me is it's ripe. It is falling to the ground. The one in the background, this could be Canariensis, no? Acuminata, Carpentaria acuminata from Australia. This looks a lot more like Phoenix Canariensis, although it's still a bit on the thin side. Here we are at the edge of the jungle. I wonder how original this jungle is. Big trees, but they are standing pretty far apart, and between them there are not really a lot of trees of the same species, but other stuff. Must be pretty disturbed jungle because Java is very densely populated. I guess the jungle was, maybe the area around the garden was protected when it was founded, so this area has probably been left alone for the last 100 years or so. If I had time I would totally go and forage there, but let's cover the garden first.